Hello and welcome to Con Artist number 6. Number one source for nothing except our opinion. This is Maestro, the only man who's ever sonically screwed Maria Kanellis. And I am here with...
somebody who suddenly doesn't want to be here anymore. I am fire.
Oh, wait, no, I'm not.
My cat
I
said
put it
that
out.
once.
I'm okay.
Okay.
I'm Shiny Doctor.
And you're still Dan H.
And he's still
Dan,
Art by Dan
But you
H.
don't want to be here.
Yeah, Art doesn't want to be here anymore already.
Anyway,
We just lost the last 2 listeners.
so if we still have any listeners, I mean, I feel like we say that every time. If you're still listening, then either there's something wrong with you or you actually care. But we have a lot to talk about today, including the good, the bad, and the ugly of Rhode Island Comic Con 2014.
I thought you were talking about Kim Kardashian.
I was just going to say, I thought we were already on the Kim Kardashian part.
Yeah, about that. Anyway, but first off, as usual, I want to start off with the WWE sucks. However, though we changed it to that from WWE sucks about CM Punk, today I actually want to talk about CM Punk.
Oh, good. This is the part I can go to sleep.
Much like Vince and Triple H for the past couple of years.
Oh, snap.
But anyway, but in the interesting news of CM Punk, apparently CM Punk is writing a Thor comic for Marvel.
Apparently, he's going to be writing a story for Thor Annual Number 1. Artist Rob Glory from Chew is going to be working on it with him. They're tight-lipped on the details. They keep saying, "Oh, there's going to be more. There's going to be more." It's probably going to be leaked like the Age of Ultron trailer, which
we'll
probably talk
yes.
about later. But yeah, it sounds like it's going to be interesting. It's going to be kind of a pre-Avengers younger version of Thor.
So this isn't the Thor who lost his hammer to the new Disney princess and is wandering the universe. This is an old or a new story, so to speak.
This is a new story. This is going to be part of a collection of stories from different artists and different writers. And so no, it's not going to be Princess Thor.
Well, I heard that there's a couple that he might do, but I know that he wants to do the Punisher.
Yeah, he's been expressing that since back in, I think it was 2011 was the first time that he ever said he wants to work on a Punisher story. And I want to see what the best in the world could do with a Punisher story.
I want to see a Punisher story written by CM Punk. I think that would be really, really cool.
Yeah, I'd read that.
Yeah, and Dan doesn't even watch modern wrestling.
No.
Fortunately, CM Punk was a name years ago, so Dan still knows who he is.
I know CM Punk, and I knew some of these guys, but...
And one thing I will say about CM Punk, you know, one of the top 10 longest-running WWE champions who actually showed up for work.
Yeah, I wanted to, I was hoping we'd do the WWE Sucks segment just so I could talk about Brock Lesnar's ongoing championship in absentia.
Yeah.
This is a guy who has not been on WWE television, and feel free to correct me if I'm wrong, it's the internet, so people always do. But he has not made an appearance since Night of Champions, which was September 21st. That means the entire month of October, we have not seen the WWE Championship or the
brand new
Yeah.
WWE Championship belt.
The only Raws that he showed up to were after he won the title from John Cena, so they could give him the new belt.
Which is the night after SummerSlam.
Was the night after SummerSlam. He showed up the Monday night before Night of Champions, and then he showed up at Night of Champions, and he hasn't been seen since. This is a champion that we're probably not going to see until the Royal Rumble.
Probably.
If we're lucky.
Well, it was one thing when you had Hell in a Cell, he wasn't there. It's like, okay, there's one. Then you have Survivor Series, once again, where is he? And you have some people coming out saying, well, you don't need the champion at every pay-per-view. I'm like, yeah, you kind of do.
You kind of do. He's the face of the company.
He may not need to compete every pay-per-view, but he needs to represent the company.
Yeah, he needs to represent the brand that's putting so much faith in him, so much stock in him, supporting this guy who really has no business being the champion. They might as well put the title on Hulk Hogan. At least he showed up all of October to celebrate Coleman Mania.
Yeah.
He's running wild on the WWE Universe.
Well, you know what? It's funny because you hear a lot of, oh, we don't want this person to be the face of the company. But then when you do have a face of the company, he's never showing his face.
They might as well have just left the title on Daniel Bryan because, hey, if we want a champion who's not going to be around, this is a guy who's got neck surgery and he's recovering from that. He's not going to be around for a few months.
Yeah. And say what you want about the John Cena's, the Randy Ortons, the people who a lot of us are getting sick of. But you know something? Whenever they are champion, at least they show up for work.
Yeah, every week.
Every week, every pay-per-view, they're there.
They show up every Monday night. They show up most Friday nights. They show up in the middle of the week for those other shows that people don't really watch because they're on the WWE network. And I won't get into the numbers on that, but feel free to try and look for them. I would recommend starting at the bottom of the barrel, and probably won't have to look too much far up from that.
You mean the WWE Network, which is you can get now for $9.99 a month?
Well, for the month of November, I almost said month of October, but for the month of November, it's actually free because they are so desperate for people to sign up for their network.
Yep. Yes. But it also brings you to another point, though. Speaking of Randy Orton is currently off TV playing the injury angle. And we all know he'll come back as a face and beat the crap out of Seth Rollins, which I'm actually kind of looking forward to. But for those of you who don't know, he's actually away right now filming The Condemned 2.
Making a sequel to that?
Yes. I actually enjoyed that movie, but I don't know how a sequel's going to work.
I surprisingly enjoyed that movie because I was never a fan of Stone Cold Steve Austin as a wrestler, let alone as an actor in any of his previous attempts.
Yes.
But it was actually an enjoyable movie.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was more Vinnie Jones or, the overall story of it. It was one of those kind of under-the-radar type movies where you either loved it or hated it.
I feel like it was a very, what's the word I'm looking for? I feel like it's a movie that can go down as a cult classic. I feel like it's a very underappreciated movie. Because I remember my wife and I actually saw it in the theater, and I remember walking out and was like, I actually enjoyed that, Which doesn't happen very often, especially with WWE films.
Very rarely do they actually make a good movie, let alone a good sequel.
Yeah.
For those of you who don't know, there have been at least three Marine movies.
Two of which have The Miz.
That means there must be four then, because
I think the fourth one's
Ted
coming out.
DiBiase was in the second one.
Yes.
And we've now had two See No Evil movies starring Kane.
Yeah. Yeah, Ted DiBiase Jr.
Yes, Ted DiBiase has a son.
What, he's the $500,000 man?
That would have been a clever idea.
Senior. And I think it's less than that now.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
I would like to weigh in here. I mean, I don't know much about what's going on. I haven't watched wrestling in a while.
Well, I actually do have something you can weigh in on, but finish.
But back in my day, when Bill Goldberg was the reigning heavyweight champion of WCW, he was there all the time.
Yes, he was.
Okay, you just
with
waited.
His monumental winning streak.
Yeah, you waited for that music.
And you know what's
people
funny?
Didn't yell, "You suck" to it.
The undefeated thing.
Are you mocking Kurt Angle now? Please don't mock Kurt Angle. He's an American treasure.
When he does it all by himself.
When Bill Goldberg was undefeated, it was amazing. The problem I have now is that horse has been beaten to death. Every up-and-coming big guy heel in the WWE is undefeated. Look at Rusev. He hasn't been defeated yet. Ryback, I think when he first started, he was undefeated.
Ryback was a powerhouse monster.
Yeah. Which it looks like they're actually pushing that. He just came back from injury. It looks like they're trying to push him as a monster again. But
remember one thing, though? WCW had good writers. WWE...
Which WCW are you talking about?
WCW had...
Are you talking pre-Vince Russo or post-Vince
Well, yes.
Russo?
I was going to say
God.
that I choose to ignore that particular dark period of WCW.
I wonder all the time what would have happened. Because I remember Eric Bischoff was supposed to buy the company until Vince got it. And I was like, what would WCW still be around today if Eric Bischoff had bought the company, do you think?
Probably.
Quite possibly. If Eric Bischoff had done it, if Paul Heyman had done it, these are guys who actually know how to run this business, who actually have their finger on the pulse of the business.
Yeah.
Vince McMahon has his finger somewhere else, and I won't say where. But Jim Ross is a member of the Kiss It Club.
Yes. But, Dan, I think this is something you can weigh in on. Sorry. There's a rumor going around about a match.
Is that a fat joke?
No. I'm all out of fat
We don't
jokes.
make those here unless you're a Kardashian.
Oh. Fat jokes aside, I actually am losing a lot of blood. Anyway, a rumored match for WrestleMania 31. I'm not sure how I feel about this, just because I feel like it has potential to be good for nostalgic purposes, but from a performance standpoint, I don't think it'll be that great. But I think it will be interesting, is they are talking about having, for WrestleMania 31, first time ever, Hulk Hogan versus Sting.
I think. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say I got nothing to weigh in on that.
No.
I honestly don't even want to see that. I would rather see Undertaker face Sting, but I would rather have seen Undertaker not drop the ball to Brock
Captain
Lesnar, who, Captain No Show, Mister question mark on a paper bag, because we don't see the face of the WWE, and WWE thinks that their fans have the attention span of a goldfish, which is the urban legend being goldfish has a 6-second memory, which is why every time WWE goes to commercial on Monday Night Raw, they come back and show you what literally just happened 2 minutes ago.
Yes.
So WWE thinks their fans have a very short attention span. You have a champion who has not appeared in over a month. You have fans who have no idea what the champion looks like, let alone the title belt.
Well, the thing I think of a Hulk Hogan versus Sting match at WrestleMania, like I said, from a nostalgic standpoint, I think it's a great idea. But it's one of those things where you can't expect much from this match.
I don't know. It depends on who lifts Hulk Hogan up so he can do his leg drop.
But the thing is and no, I love Sting, but you gotta. And Hulk Hogan was great back in his day too. But like I said, neither one of them are all that young anymore, and you can't. If you put Sting against The Undertaker, I think that would be an amazing match. And honestly, I think that's what they should do. But you can't have Sting versus John Cena, Sting versus Dolph Ziggler or Randy Orton.
Because all it's going to show is his age. Don't get me wrong. I love Sting and I love Hulk Hogan. I adore the man. Hulk Hogan's the only person who has ever asked me for a photograph. I will never shut up about that because Hulk Hogan asked me to take a picture with him, and I'm nobody.
Yet. He is shiny Dr. Cosplay, but Hulk Hogan doesn't know who that is.
But I will say, though, I think, if anything, that's what's going to be the big draw is the nostalgic point. You've got two legendary wrestlers, and to be fair, I think you can, like, Hogan versus Sting, I think that would be kind of cool, and I still think you can do Sting versus Undertaker, because none of these people are anything approaching spring chickens.
Well, I think the thing that could sell the match is...
And they're all fantastic workers.
Oh, yeah,
Especially when it comes to Sting and Undertaker.
Three of my favorites.
If you were to make a list of the top 10 or top 5 workers in professional wrestling who are still active, they are always going to top that list.
Yeah.
Because they have spent so long working in the industry. They've spent so long putting other guys over and making other guys look good or carrying matches in some instances. And, I mean, can you honestly say that the Brock Lesnar-Undertaker match was anything but Undertaker really helping Brock Lesnar get over?
Basically.
I mean, Brock Lesnar couldn't wrestle his way out of a wet paper bag.
I mean,
Undertaker still made it look like a squash match.
And Paul Heyman, if he couldn't talk his way out of a paper bag, he would need Paul Heyman to do that for him.
Couldn't talk his way into a paper bag.
But the thing is, I think the thing that could sell that match, the Sting versus Hogan match, is it's the match you never thought you would ever see at WrestleMania. It's a match we've seen before, but never at WrestleMania.
And to be perfectly fair about it, I mean, let's really be fair. You got Undertaker, you got Sting. Don't do that. You got Hulk Hogan, okay? And like Shiny Doctor just said, how many of these original guys have you got left? We can't bring in Ric Flair because the only thing he's going to do is stomp around the ring and go, woo! And
he's going to jump.
Trip getting in through the ropes. And he's already had his major WrestleMania moment. Shawn Michaels crying, saying, I love you, and super kicking him. And sending him into retirement.
And that should be his last final,
Yeah, that should be his
you can't
last
really
hurrah.
top that.
And plus, especially where he's so old now, in finest Ric Flair tradition, he's going to trip trying to get into the ring over the rope, and then he's going to start bleeding.
No, he won't do anything. He'll walk into the ring, go, woo, and then start bleeding. And if he makes it to the top rope, somebody's just going to grab him and throw him off.
If you
putting stairs up to the top rope now?
He'll make it to the top rope.
Will there be an assistant there in a white shirt?
Be a Viagra on a pole match.
Make it to the top rope, and his nose starts bleeding.
Yeah, I know, right? Oh, but
these are
Ric
guys
Flair.
that we love, but these are guys who have had their time. When it comes to Hogan versus Sting at WrestleMania 31, though, I do agree. I think it would be a great nostalgia match. I think it would be something that would get guys like us to all watch it. Although, let's be honest, WWE sucks, and we're still watching the pay-per-views.
We are, but that's because they're only
criticizing them in CinemaSins fashion.
The reason we watch the pay-per-views every month is because they are only $9.99 a month.
Yes, and they are 2.5-hour commercials for the WWE Network, which is just $9.99 a month.
Except for the month of November, where
which
it is
you can get for free.
If you sign up now, You get it for free, including Survivor Series.
Which will not feature the WWE World Heavyweight Champion Brock Lesnar, who is busy doing something else like rearranging his sock drawer or painting his toenails.
And that's all the time we have for wrestling.
Thank you, Godzilla. Okay, now our next topic is a topic that I feel like we have a lot to talk about, and that is Rhode Island Comic Con 2014. Yes, Dan can now join in.
Wake up, Dan. Wake up, Art.
I'm here.
Now, for those of you who attended Rhode Island Comic Con, those of you who made it in, those of you who did not make it in, those of you
who stood outside in the freezing rain while the police told you could not enter the building because it was over capacity.
And for those of you who might actually listen to us, there were a lot of, like I said earlier, there was a lot of good, bad, and ugly things that happened at Rhode Island Comic Con this year. Now, let me start off by saying, from a vendor's standpoint, which I was, we had an amazing show.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, packed over capacity. We made a ton of money. We did, and that's. Don't get me wrong. I go to the Rhode Island Comic Con or all these shows, and I have a blast. I do it for the fun, but I'm also there to make money so we can open up a store someday. So, from a vendor standpoint, it was a fantastic show. And as I've said before, and I will say again, I can't remember the name of the company.
Altered Reality Entertainment.
Yes, I knew it was ARE or something like that. Altered Reality Entertainment. I will always do a show if they're putting it on. Despite the mess that happened at Rhode Island Comic Con this year, I will be there next year. If there's another TerraCon, I will be there. South Coast, I will be there. Mm-hmm. That being said, I'm going to turn it over to Shiny Doctor.
Yeah, that being said, I have my piece to share as a paid attendee. I don't get invited as a guest to these things. I pay to get in. And I tend to go for those VIP passes.
Yes.
So, from that standpoint, too, talking to people who shelled out the money for a Star Trek VIP pass, people that shelled out the money for a gold VIP pass, silver VIP, bronze VIP, or just a regular weekend or day pass. There were people that spent, in some cases, a lot of money to get into this event, and they were stopped at the door, or they went out to get lunch and came back, and they were not let back into the building because Altered Reality treated their event like a trade show. They said, well, trade shows, people come and go all the time, so we can sell more tickets using that capacity turnover ratio. Anyone who is going to treat a comic convention like a trade show has no business running either. I have not had a bad experience with them in the past, and I want that to be known. I enjoyed Rhode Island Comic Con thoroughly last year. Haven't been to the other one, but I have been
South
to
Coast, right?
TerraCon. Yeah. TerraCon was the first year that it was going, so it didn't really have a big draw, but it had a fair number of people and had really great guests.
Yeah, and I had a lot of fun there.
The same thing with Rhode Island. They had some amazing guests. They had a lot of the original Star Trek series cast.
Yep.
George Takei very graciously complimented my bow tie on day 2. Told me I looked very dapper. So my bow tie has now been George Takei approved. But William Shatner was there, Nichelle Nichols, Walter Koenig was there. If they had added Leonard Nimoy, my head would have exploded.
Dude, I think there would have been a fire there.
Yeah, I think there actually would have been a Klingon invasion at that point. Because they would have actually thought that the Enterprise was there and that it was for the taking. Another big draw for the show, for the Rhode Island Comic Con show, was Supernatural, which is very, very popular and actually led to me debuting a Dean Winchester cosplay, which was approved by Mark Shepard, who anyone who watches Supernatural knows plays the demon Crowley, the King of Hell, on the show. Has also done basically everything that any geek could ever dream of. He's been on Star Trek. Yep. He's been on Doctor Who. He's been everywhere you can imagine. He was Badger on Firefly. I mean, the guy is everywhere. If you don't know who he is,
I know him.
You have to turn in your geek card. So it was very cool to get to meet him, and he actually approved the Dean Winchester cosplay. I had my lady companion Kara with me doing gender bent Sam Winchester and did a fantastic job. And Mark Shepard actually complimented that we were life-size.
You know what sucks is... Because I wasn't saying I didn't know who Mark Shepard was. I was saying I don't watch Supernatural. I would like to at some point, but it's 9 seasons, right?
Yeah, it's about 9+ seasons in.
Gotta start
so
somewhere.
if you haven't started watching it yet, I do recommend it, but it is going to take a while to get caught up.
But-
They just celebrated their 200th episode in grand fashion. It was an amazing episode.
That's cool. But the thing that kind of bummed me out about this year, at least in my sport, there's a lot like Mark Shepard. I never saw him. William Shatner, never saw him. I saw George Takei, but I never saw Walter Koenig. I'm sorry.
Yeah, they were having a rough time with their names.
They were having a rough time with the names. When people are asking who Eliza Dusha is,
that was.
That's kind of rough.
I heard that. And
When
I was
you
like,
hear
wait.
George Takei, George Takui, I don't even know what else there was for that.
But there was a few problems with the announcements.
There were many problems with the announcements. There were many problems with the scheduling on everything.
Yes.
Panels were getting rescheduled. Photo ops were getting rescheduled. A lot of people were getting really upset.
Yes.
And that comes back to just the planning stage and everything, the way they were trying to treat the show. And it's very important to me. I liked Rhode Island Comic Con last year.
Yes.
I had fun at Rhode Island Comic Con this year, but it was so overcrowded.
Yes.
Because of certain decisions that were made. It's very important that they learn from those mistakes.
Well, I felt like
make them again.
I felt like they. I mean, and there's people who disagree with me. I feel like they handled the aftermath very well. I mean, they offered refunds to everybody.
In terms of the refunds, I agree with you there. They were offering refunds. They were trying to be as accommodating as they could and as forthcoming as they could with telling people how to go about getting those refunds.
Yeah.
But the thing that stuck with me is when they made their heartfelt apology, I really felt like they were sorry about how things turned out. But at the same time, in the first paragraph of that apology, they tried to blame it on the show's success, the show being a victim of its own success. The show was not a victim of its own success. Was there a huge turnout? Yeah, there was. Would there have been such a huge turnout if they had stopped selling tickets when they reached capacity for the whole weekend? Probably not.
No.
But would there have been as many pissed off people
No.
if they had treated it like a comic convention, which has a very low capacity turnover,
Yes.
as opposed to a trade show where you've got vendors coming in, making connections, maybe making purchases or sales, and then leaving after a couple of hours?
I think of a trade show. There's a show I do in South Attleboro, which I think it's called the South Attleboro Comic Card and Toy Show. We just call it Harry's.
We just call it Harry's.
It's done at the Knights of Columbus. That to me, that's a trade show. It's a little. It's like I said, the Knights of Columbus Hall.
Meant more for the vendors.
Yeah, people come in they're looking for old stuff.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? A lot, and I feel like a lot of sales, especially at any Comic-Con, a lot of the sales we get are people who, I mean, they're buying stuff that they want, buying stuff they like, but you have those people who are just like, you know what? I'm at Comic-Con. I want to go home with something, even if it's just a plush Yoshi. You know, they can say,
Those things are ridiculously popular.
They are. I order those for every show, and every show I sell at least half of them.
But they really should have, it's not like, to me, the whole thing is just down to absolutely poor planning. Okay.
That is really what it comes down to.
It's not like the capacity ratio, the building's capacity is a mystery. It's printed on the side of the friggin' building. Okay,
Yeah.
and
I'm sure the fire department was there.
Yeah, and
the fire department was there, the fire marshal was there, the police were there, and
Yes.
they were all very, very upset.
Yes.
Maestro's and my father, being a firefighter, he can tell you that fire departments do not play games in this situation in Rhode Island.
Especially the Providence Fire Department. The first time when I talked to my dad about what happened, because my parents actually tried to come to the show, but when they saw the line of a few hundred people outside that wasn't moving, they decided to go home. My parents are big Ghost Hunters fans. That's why they wanted to come. But when I discussed with him later what had happened, he had said that from his experience with the Providence Fire Department, that they do not have a sense of humor when it comes to public safety or to overcapacity.
And it's not a situation where there should be any sense of humor about it. On the subject of the Ghost Hunters, that's right. There were a couple of people from the Ghost Hunters there. I don't remember who they were.
Amy,
and
Adam,
I have no
and
idea
Joe.
where they were on day 2, because in between day 1 and day 2, they decided to restructure the guest area.
Yes.
And a whole lot of people moved around.
I did find Amy from Ghost Hunters on day 2. She's actually in the little video we took. But yeah, they like the cosplayers.
They moved a bunch of cosplayers around. They didn't have signs for everybody that was there, and there were some big guests. I have no idea where Mark Shepard was signing autographs.
Yes.
I found out on day 2 where Jim Beaver from Supernatural was signing autographs. it did me no good on day 2. I wanted to meet him on day 1 when
Yes.
we were dressed as Sam and Dean.
Well, you know what's funny is a friend of ours, she actually just started doing this, started doing these conventions. When she came in the first day, they had her name. They had no idea where they put her.
Yeah, they messed up with a lot of vendors. They messed up with a lot of artists.
Yeah.
There were artists on day 2 that cut and ran halfway through the day because it was just such.
Well,
Well, I'm trying to refrain from profanity, so I'm just going to leave it at you know what it was.
Well, but this girl I was just talking about too, the aisle she was in, there were a few people in there who either I don't know, I think it was the second day they just didn't come back. I don't know if they were like collectible vendors like us or just art vendors or whatever. So when people looked down that aisle, they saw empty spots, so nobody went down there and bought from her because they didn't see much down there.
Well, that's where this kind of thing, okay, and I know some people would say, who are you to tell? These are for people who are running a convention. Who are you to tell them? But this kind of thing cannot happen. You're talking about, because if you've got dealers, what would you say the ratio was of how many people got turned away, didn't get back in?
Oh, it was well over. It was. I couldn't even tell you. I don't know the exact number. I know that they at least double sold their capacity, if not triple or quadruple, depending on who you talk to and who has the right numbers.
So could we easily say thousands of people?
Yeah. Easily thousands of people.
Yeah.
There were easily thousands of people. There were people who were separated from their children because they went to get lunch or they went to get something out of their car. The kids stayed inside enjoying, Kids Con or enjoying the convention on the whole, and their parents are outside trying to get in. Mark Shepard, when he went to his Q&A panel, could not get in until he said, if you don't let me in there, you don't have a panel.
Yeah.
You're going to have a whole lot of angry people because you're not letting me in. The guy running the costume contest, his name is Pat. I can't think of his last name off the top of my head. He basically, if you've been to a costume contest at a New England comic convention, he is probably the guy that organized it.
Yeah.
Very, very cool guy. I got to hear him talk about costume contests on the second day of Rhode Island Comic Con in the only quote unquote cosplay panel that they had. It was more focused on the cosplay contests than it was an actual cosplaying, which is kind of a shame. That's one of the things I like to attend at these conventions. But he was outside the building and couldn't get in until he said, look, if you don't let me in the building, I can't help you get people out.
Yeah.
Was it Nicole Marie Jean there who was supposed to be a judge at one of these?
No,
it was Emily from Misa Cosplay couldn't get in at one point.
Yeah, and
she's supposed to be judging the costume contest.
Yes,
but with Pat, his situation, he had an all-access staff pass.
Yeah,
and they wouldn't let him in the building.
Oh boy!
Like when you have an all-access pass, that really it speaks for itself. All access, you go anywhere.
Yeah.
So if you don't let somebody with one of those badges in, how are they going to help you get people out of the building if that's the big concern? Well, granted, it is a big concern. There's really that's we've already kind of gone over that. We've already kind of beat that horse to death. Yeah. So I don't want to get back into it. On the cosplay side, there were some amazing cosplays. There were some really, really terrific costumes.
Oh yeah.
Well, before we get into cosplay, because there's actually a lot of cosplays I want to talk about, but I want your guys' opinion on something. Something my wife and I actually discussed after the show. Is KidsCon a waste of space?
I kind of think it is.
It may be. I mean, I think that the convention as a whole might be a bit much for some of the younger kids. Having a little designated space for them might not be a terrible idea.
No, but
maybe one of the conference rooms up on one of the higher levels rather than taking up the entire lower level with it.
And that's
granted, there's not a whole lot you can put down there.
No, but I feel like there's something you can put there. Because I know, what is it, at MegaFest, which we're going to be at next weekend, like the cosplayers have their own section in a hallway downstairs.
Yeah.
And I could go. I'll talk about MegaFest next month after we do it, because MegaFest, there's a lot of problems with MegaFest, but that's a whole different animal.
Yeah, that has its own set of problems.
Yeah,
and it really doesn't have anything to do with treating it like a trade show.
No,
take up a whole other podcast on that one.
Well, that's because the way the holidays and the shows fell, I was kind of wondering how we were going to do this, and I decided, you know what, let's do the one about Rhode Island, and then we'll worry about MegaFest in December.
Yeah.
I know next year, from what I read online, it's going to become a 3-day show, Rhode Island Comic Con, and they're going to start using the Dunk as well.
Yeah, they are looking to expand into the Dunk, which is probably not a terrible idea, although I don't exactly know
Well, it's
what
an
they're
arena.
planning. Yeah, it's an arena setting. It's not
I'm
quite
not sure.
the
How
same,
do you?
so-
Because you have. I mean, I feel like the bleachers are a complete waste of space. You really can't do anything.
That's going to take up a lot of the floor space, but it is going to give you a huge floor area.
Well,
I mean, if you think about a concert there or
Yeah.
a
Well, you
hockey
know what?
game, any type of event there, there's a lot of space there, but
But you know what you could do with the floor of the Dunk? Like I said, don't use the bleachers for anything. Rope them off. Use the floor of the Dunkin' Donut Center for all the celebrities.
yeah, that would be a terrific idea.
Keep the dealer room where it is. Keep
there's
everything
really
where
no
it is.
reason to move
But
the vendors or
and
the
use
artists,
the
any of
Dunk
that stuff.
for that reason.
Take up that whole convention hall where we were,
Yeah.
dealer room. Make that all dealers.
Either make it all dealers, and if you can't, because the one thing they did this year, because the first year I did Rhode Island Comic Con, there's a curtain behind every table. But last year there was a good maybe 3 feet of space between my curtain, the back of my curtain, and the curtain of the person in the next row.
Yeah, and there really wasn't
This
that
year,
space this year.
there
You could
was-
open a curtain and like
There was a guy.
we were the next aisle over, and I think you opened the curtain and
poked my head
tapped,
through and-
tapped Art over here on the shoulder and
Yeah.
said, "Hey, what's going on?"
Yes, I
You
did
know?
actually. And it's like, so even if you can't, like, if you fill up the actual, the vendor hall, even if you can't get enough more vendors to fill those spaces where the celebrities are, you can still spread everybody else out and make it work. And keep the cosplayers with us. Keep the cosplayers in the vendor room.
There's really no reason. I mean, they're artists.
Yes.
They're crafting their own costumes. They're
Yes.
working on designing the armor or putting together the fabrics to make their costumes. They are artists.
I was happy. I did get over, and I did get to see Nicole Marie Jean, only on day 2. My wife actually went and saw her on day 1, but I got to see her day 2 in her
And her Autumn Poison Ivy,
yes,
yeah.
which she does an amazing job. And
Yeah,
actually,
she does a fantastic job. Just the fact that she has not only a regular Poison Ivy costume, but the fact that she thought about it and went, well, gee, what would Poison Ivy's costume look like in the fall?
I love how, because of course you got the guys out
Nicole,
there.
we miss you out on the East Coast. It's
Yes,
very,
we do.
very cold
I was
over
actually
here
really
now.
sad to hear a week after Rhode Island Comic Con she moved to California, but I'm sure we'll see her at the East Coast shows.
It looked like a fun road trip, though.
It did. But I loved how when the guys came out like, oh, what does winter Ivy look like? Ha ha ha. And she, without missing a beat, she's like, I don't know. I live in California now. I won't know. It's like, there you go, girl. She's awesome. She's one of my favorites.
She's awesome. The cosplayers they had really were awesome. I mean, I didn't get to see Johnny Ruckus at all on day 1 because basically if they were judging the costume contest, that took up their entire day on day 1.
I think I saw him once. He was walking by me, but he wasn't in costume.
That was the thing. I mean, yeah, on day 1 he was Dr. Horrible
Yep.
from Dr. Horrible's sing-along blog. I'm not sure. I don't remember seeing him on day 2. I think he was just in his Ghostbuster gear.
I believe so. I'm pretty sure he was.
Because he was at the costume contest panel.
Yes.
So was Abby from Human Sushi Cosplay.
Yep. Kristen Huey was there, right?
Kristen Huey was there as a guest. She on I'm trying to think of which day it was. She did her pin-up Captain America costume, which is pretty smoking hot. But
I'm sure.
She does an amazing job, just like Nicole, just like Destiny, just like Abby. They all do such an amazing job with their costumes, with the work that they do.
And Destiny was there. She didn't have a booth, but she was there, right?
She had a table on day 2. I don't know that she had a table on day 1. If she did, she definitely wasn't added. I ran into her on day 1 in passing.
Yeah.
Just like you said with Johnny, she was in her Starfleet original series Starfleet uniform. She was on her way to judging. She was kind of in between, so I got to talk to her for a minute.
Didn't she do Beetlejuice one day?
She did Beetlejuice on day 2, and it was pretty fantastic.
Yeah, I didn't get to see her. I actually didn't see her anywhere there, but I feel like there's a lot of people I didn't get to see. But I remember seeing pictures of her Beetlejuice costume.
I always try to make it a point to get over and kind of see the people that I've gotten to know a little bit.
I do want to say something, though, about Destiny Nicholson. I saw a thing. It was actually like the day up. It was like one of the after parties she went to.
She after party on Saturday. She did
like almost like a sexy Freddy Krueger.
Yeah, I don't know if it was Kota Bukaya or if it was one of the other more sexy femme versions of Freddy. She got a lot of negative heat for that.
Yeah, and it didn't make any sense to me.
Well, not only did it not make any sense, there's absolutely no place for it.
No, there isn't.
I don't care who you think you are. I don't care what you think your opinion matters. you don't treat anybody who is willing to do any type of costume
Yeah.
like that. You don't. It's not acceptable, and too many people do it, and it's kind of leading me down
Well,
this path of doing a cosplay is not consent costume where it's
well, I
basically
feel
gonna
like
be me
we
with a
talked
machete and a
about.
whole bunch of severed hands.
I feel like we talked about like during the last con artist when we talked about that woman who did Michonne. You have
Purple Candy, yeah.
you have a lot of keyboard tough guys. You have people who will
Oh,
go
yeah.
on the internet and will rip somebody apart, but will never do it to their face.
No.
And I love Destiny's costumes. I think she did an amazing job, even with that one. That was just an after party costume.
Well, even with that one, she toned down the sexiness of it.
She
I've
did.
seen the original picture of that costume, and
Yes.
it's a much more crop top. They're much shorter shorts.
There are more rips
She
in
was
like the
wearing
belly
more
area. I believe.
high-waisted shorts.
Yep.
I mean, because she does not go for the sexy stuff, and I don't condemn anybody who does.
No.
For example, Jessica Nigri does a lot of very, very, very sexy costumes.
She does.
She has the assets for it. She wants to show them off, and she gets a very, very positive response for it, so she does it. And that's entirely her choice. Nobody should condemn it, and nobody should just assume that they can weasel their way into her pants because of it.
Well, there's an interesting thing I want to bring up about that. I was watching a video, and we've talked about it before. Gina B cosplay does an amazing job with all of her costumes. She did a video once, and she was talking about the sexiness of costumes, and something she brought up once when it comes to the costumes is you have a lot of girls, and they'll do like the push-up bras and stuff like that to try to get an accurate portrayal of a costume. And you have people be like, oh, you're dressing like a slut or whatever. But if you think about women in comics and drawings,
just the female form in comic books.
They're not even almost, they're completely almost unrealistic versions of women. And so women who want to do these cosplays, they have to like, oh my God, I gotta push this up. I gotta, squeeze my gut in. It's almost like impossible to get it perfect because the way it's drawn is so unrealistic.
It's physically unrealistic. You have muscles and large breasts and it's completely impossible to come across with some of these images. I mean, somebody wanting to do She-Hulk has to make compromises because there's just no way to accurately pull that off.
Being somebody who,
but at the same time, they shouldn't be criticized.
No,
that's the kind of stuff I draw, and and trust me when I say I'll draw the dress. I've drawn all kinds of things, and trust me, I've given characters the really pinched waist, the really big boobs, and it is completely unrealistic, but it's supposed to be.
But you know something? And we mentioned her earlier, Miss Kardashian. Speaking of unrealistic.
Oh, at least I admit I use Photoshop.
I was going to say, are we going down the Photoshop road now?
No. Well, I don't want to get too far into this because there's more cosplay I want to talk about. But the Kim Kardashian picture that's going on Facebook, that's all photo. Most of her pictures are photoshopped. So if you really think about it, it's not just comics that are making an unrealistic vision of women.
Oh yeah, it's all forms of media.
It's what is it? FHM or Maxim or Sports Illustrated. Those pictures are all touched up. They're photoshopped. They're airbrushed. And I'm not gonna lie. I'm a guy. I'm a straight male. I'm a healthy straight male. And
I am shocked.
I enjoy these magazines. I enjoy these comics. I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to sit here and say, that, I think it's disgusting.
That you don't have
blah,
a
blah,
kind
blah.
of creepy love affair with Harley Quinn?
Yeah.
It is not in any way creepy.
But
Harley Quinn, Poison Ivy,
But on the
all
same
good.
token, I feel like I understand girls are trying, and I will never fault them for trying their best to try to recreate that, but I will never fault them if they can't.
No, absolutely. I mean, anybody who's willing to take on any type of project. Just as an example, back on the cosplay side of things, the winner of the costume contest at Rhode Island Comic Con was this enormous Space Marine costume from, I think it's Warhammer. I'm not overly familiar with it. I just remember it being an incredible costume.
Yes.
I had gone up to the upper floor for something else, and I saw it, and I snapped a few pictures of it because it was incredible. I saw the person inside that costume with the helmet off.
Yes.
And I learned on day 2, I looked at the kid and I said, there is no way that person is over 17 years old. There was no way that kid was over 17. And I learned on day 2, he's actually 16.
Really?
He had won the costume contest this year, at 16 years old in this enormous, elaborate, self-made costume, no help from anybody else. The kid's just this master of the craft when
Yeah.
it comes to armor making. He had won a costume. He had placed and won previously in the past 2 years. So you figure this kid's been in costume contests since he was at least 14.
Yep.
He's won each year, and he won the best in show.
Yeah.
At Rhode Island Comic Con at 16 years old. That's
pretty
incredible.
amazing. But you know what's funny is I remember I don't think it was this year. I think it was last year at South Coast. There was a kid there who made an Iron Man costume. It was completely out of cardboard and duct tape. But it was
great.
It was a great costume. It was a fairly
It was
accurate
great.
costume.
Yeah,
But
it's remarkable the things that people work with and what they can do with those different materials.
And there's nothing wrong with using cardboard and duct tape. Hell, my brother and I have made many costumes as children out of cardboard and duct tape.
Yeah,
He made, what was it, William's arm from Resident Evil 2.
Oh yes.
Out of cardboard, and there was this eye you could get. It's like about the size of maybe a volleyball.
Yeah.
It was like a red eye, and you squeeze it, and the blood throws. It's like a plastic layer on top of it, and you put that in the corner of it. It looked really, really cool. And
it was heavy.
I feel like a lot of people
I can imagine it would be.
Yeah, it was. But I feel like, and I will never fault. I love the costumes I see there. But when you hear about all the different things that people like, the foam they use for floor mats and how you heat it up and you make this armor.
People do all kinds of stuff. EVA foam, Warbler, all the different stuff that people use. There is a table I've seen at a few different conventions called Cosplay on a Budget.
Yes.
And they basically will extol the virtues of using duct tape, cardboard, any type of found material that you have at home, stuff that you have that you don't really use. I mean, bed sheets. You'd be surprised at what you can do with any of that stuff.
I need to make my budget Deadpool page.
Well, you know what's something I do want to bring up though? I actually made my cosplay debut at Rhode Island Comic Con Day 2.
That's true. There was a Slade Wilson there that was pretty fantastic.
I made a Deathstroke costume. I actually made it for Halloween. I used a paintball mask I got from Hong Kong, and I painted it the custom colors myself.
Yes, the mask has very little to say there, Dan.
Yeah, you can actually find pictures of it on the Hunt, on the Facebook page, on the website. But here's something that I found was interesting. There was this guy who came up to me. It was the guys who do the Angry Geek Show on YouTube. He came up to me and he took a picture of me. And at first I was just like, oh, somebody wanted a picture. Okay. And afterwards he was talking to me. He's like, what he said to me was, I have a friend. He's like my best friend. He does a Deathstroke costume every year. He's so good at it. Yours is better than him. I'm just like, whoa, really? What? Like, and I'm not making this crap up. But
no, I was there.
Yeah, and he was just like,
when we were, when we get into the whole WWE thing, I think we're the Angry Geeks, or at least you two.
Well, honestly, you should check them out.
I think when it comes to a lot of stuff, we tend to be the Angry Geeks, or at least mildly discontent. I tend to be a petty dabbler in the dark arts of such things.
But no, he told me that he loved my costume. He said I did a great job, and I was better than his friend. And I was like, well, I'm not going to say I'm better than anybody, but I appreciate the compliment. And he asked me, he's like, I do a YouTube show. It's a collage of cosplayers. Can I put you in it? I said, yeah, go ahead. And I actually saw it. It's like 6 minutes long, and I think I'm like 5 minutes into it.
Yeah, I watched the video for it. And it was pretty cool to have something like that happen, especially with your cosplay debut, and especially as a vendor who. And you weren't really in the costume for an extended period of time, especially considering how hot it was in the Rhode Island Convention Center.
I was at it maybe an hour and 20 minutes or so.
Roughly,
yeah. And I walked around once, and I even just standing by booth, I had at least 10 people stop, like, oh my God, can I get a new costume? Can I take a picture? And I had people want to take a picture with me, take a picture of me, and it was just, it's kind of a good feeling. Like, this is my first attempt at this kind of costume. I had people like, oh my God, you're so cool. It's just. And I'm not saying,
especially it was a very good first attempt.
It was. And
from a cosplay standpoint. I mean, I've only recently started making my own props. And it wasn't even my own prop. It was a prop for Kara for Halloween. It was a punk rock aerial Trident guitar, which
that was awesome.
I'm working on refining it now. It has a few paint job issues and a couple of other issues that I wasn't all that happy with, so I'm working on refining it. But that was my first attempt at making a prop, and you actually made your whole costume.
Well, I didn't so much make it. It was a lot of, like, you get these foam knee pads from Walmart. I got those for my knees. I actually use them as my shoulder pads. Got Nerf bullets, sewed them into it, so I had like the bullets on each shoulder. The elbow pads were just costume prop, like police officer elbow pads. The shin pads and the forearm pads were actually adult shin pads and youth shin pads. And basically what I did is I got some Krylon Fusion and spray painted them all black or yellow. Oh, not yellow, orange.
But that's exactly what I mean. I mean, when you talk to cosplayers, when you see people that do amazing stuff, some of them have taken that craft to a whole new level where they literally just buy the most random equipment. They go into Michael's or they go into Home Depot and they just buy the most random stuff and turn it into amazing costumes. Then you have people that buy other things. They buy adult shin pads, youth shin pads, and turn them into something completely different. They buy knee pads and turn them into something completely different. It's all about, even if you're buying something and just painting it and adding things to it to turn it into something else, you're still making your costume basically out of completely unrelated materials.
Yes.
I mean, you used a paintball mask to make the Deathstroke mask, and it came out absolutely incredible with the dual paint job and the aging and the stress fractures on it from wear and tear and from use, and it actually looks really incredible.
It does.
The mask alone is something that I'd expect to see somebody who
the funny
has a strong history.
The funny thing about the mask, though, is there's a mask that a lot of people use. It's very smooth, kind of. You've seen it.
I've seen it.
And people.
I've seen it too. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a very smooth that people easily just turn that into Deathstroke. And I found that mask, but then I found this one. This one, if you ever look online, it's supposed to be like the paintball skull mask. It doesn't really necessarily look like a skull, but it has that kind of look to it, and it has a lot of cracks in it. I just liked that one better. When I looked at it, I was like, I feel like this is more of the screw you on Deathstroke look.
Yeah, this is I am here to kill you, and you know it just by looking at the mask on my face.
Well, that's kind of, and believe it or not, that's kind of why I've been playing around with the idea of making that Facebook page, was because, because I've had a couple of experiences. I've had a couple of experiences online and, in general with a lot of people think you need to have massive amounts of money to get a good costume, because people will see like when the 500 First is at shows.
Yeah.
Those guys have got the plastic armor. It's been created by a vacuum table. And if you go online, these armor sets, just the armor, doesn't come with the straps or the bodysuit or anything. Just the armor is going to run you like $3,000.
Yeah, it's not cheap.
No.
And I had an idea in the past to do a Clone Trooper costume, kind of on a budget, but I didn't do it because I felt like it wouldn't have been. I felt like it wouldn't have been good enough even at my standards.
Well, but you got to kind of wonder, like, and it goes along with the whole thing, like, that you guys were talking about. One of the cosplay girls got a bunch of crap for her costume and everything. Like, I guess it was too sexy or something like that.
Yeah, when we were talking about Destiny, the sexy Freddy Krueger.
Yeah. Okay. See, this is my opinion on the whole thing. If you're giving her or anybody out of these cosplay girls or guys crap because they got the body for this, then the truth is you're just dumping your own insecurities on them. If you ain't got the rocks to do it, that's fine. But don't give these people crap.
And the funny thing is there's plenty of people out there who, let's say, don't have the body for it. But that doesn't mean they should do it. Honestly, there's no reason why. I mean, like I said before, when you have the unrealistic view of women, there's a lot of women out there who cannot pull off that look. And there's nothing wrong with that. And I feel like anybody who gives anybody, whether it's a male or female, crap about their costume, whether or not they don't have the body for it, they didn't do it the way that it was supposed to be done or whatever, they're a piece of crap.
Yeah.
Basically. Like I saw a cause. This is I don't know who it was. I'm sure a lot of you have seen this on Facebook before. There's a picture of a girl. She did a cosplay as the Amikami Dula Dent.
Yes.
And with the steampunk and the hat and everything, and people were giving her crap saying, What the heck is this? The Joker is not a girl. He doesn't wear a top hat. He doesn't have goggles. So you have a lot of people who have no clue what they're talking about.
Yeah, you get a lot of that. And I know the picture you're talking about. I honestly don't know her name either. There's a lot of people that I've seen some amazing stuff from them. I wish I knew who they were.
Yeah.
And I just don't. But yeah, you see a lot of that, and you see a lot of different takes on characters too. And sometimes that's something that really stands out with you.
Yeah.
Well, But I've seen, like, just at Rhode Island Comic Con, I saw a Catwoman, a Sailor Moon, and I think a Poison Ivy. And these girls, okay, and please, no one take this the wrong way. These were bigger girls.
Yeah.
These were not Barbie doll shaped girls. These were,
Yeah.
realistic girls. And you know something? The costumes were awesome.
They usually are.
So this is what I mean. If you're gonna bash on somebody because they're too skinny to be this character, too big to be this character, too tall, short, whatever, the bottom line is just do the world a favor and keep your mouth closed.
Yeah.
Because nobody wants to hear it.
That's the important part of it. I mean, nobody should be criticized for body image. Nobody ever should be criticized for body image. And it doesn't matter whether they're a known cosplayer, whether they're just somebody that's paying to attend a convention and they want to wear a costume. Yeah. It should not matter. If they have the confidence to wear that costume, you have no business giving them any criticism over it.
Not at all.
My first convention, granted, I just got started in conventions last year at Boston Comic Con.
Yeah.
It was my first real opportunity to be able to go, and it's just kind of spiraled out of control from there. But at Boston Comic Con last year, there was a girl who could be described as plus size.
Mm-hmm.
She wanted to dress as Emma Frost from X-Men.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I saw on, I don't know if it was Boston Comic Con's page or if it was something else that I was looking at on Facebook, somebody had posted a picture of her, and somebody else had posted some negative comment. That person has no business making a negative comment unless they are willing to put on that costume and they are going to look better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't care what your gender is. If you're a guy and you're going to bash some girl because you think she's too big to be Emma Frost, you put on the costume.
Yep.
If you don't have the confidence to do it, you have no business criticizing somebody who does.
Well, just even my Deathstroke costume. Now, mind you, am I in like Manu Bennett shape?
No.
No.
Few people are.
Yeah.
They are mostly named Manu Bennett.
Yeah,
Yes.
he is crazy and awesome at the same time. Like, I have a little bit of a gut, and I thought about that. I said, do I really want to put on this costume? And I feel like there's a lot of things that, a few years ago, I would talk myself out of, and nowadays, I just, screw it, I'm going to do it. Go ahead. No, and the funny thing, I never got any negative comments. And I can't even take it as negative. There was one time, because when I did my Slade Wilson costume, there were times where I took off the mask, but I had the eye patch.
Yep.
And I had, like, the beard going, so I tried to stay in character even when I wasn't wearing the mask. And the only thing I ever heard was one guy who thought I was Snake from Metal Gear.
Yeah,
and
but that's not
you really can't take that as an insult.
It's not something that should be taken as an insult, but it's also kind of hard to get those two mixed up.
A little. I mean, especially because I understand. Yeah, the eye patch, the scruffy look, the armor, but
I mean, if you want a comparison, go to On the Hunt, find the picture of Maestro dressed as Deathstroke, then go find Spencer Doe's page, find him dressed as Snake from Metal Gear Solid.
Yeah.
It's kind of hard to get the two mixed up.
Well, the armor is similar, but Snake didn't have orange and blue.
No, but to be fair,
exactly.
Yeah.
Manu Bennett could play Snake if they did a Metal Gear movie.
So Manu Bennett could play a lot of things.
Yeah.
Like, I would love to. I can't wait. I'm waiting. And don't get me wrong, the new season of Arrow was great, but I'm waiting because he's going to come back.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
But because I'm still working on my Deadpool costume.
Yes.
Okay, and I didn't. It's like it's one of those things. Like I'm saying, oh, I want to get it done. But I want to get it done right.
Yes.
Now, as you just said, I am nothing approaching slim trim. I got myself a gut.
We'll use Ryan Reynolds in this.
The thing about Deadpool, though, is that so many people do Deadpool, and they are all different heights,
sizes,
weights,
shapes,
genders,
genders. Really does not matter.
You know what I want to see? I'll let you finish this. I just want to say this. You know what I would love to see? I would love to see a group of Deadpools, but somebody who has like a maybe not a seeing eye dog, but like what are they called? Like a utility dog. You know what I mean?
I know what you mean. Yeah, like an assistance dog.
Yeah, an assistant dog dressed as Dogpool.
Oh,
that would be pretty great.
Yeah, have zombie Deadpool, have Dogpool, have Kidpool. Maybe have a family who has a.
But that's what got me into the costume is it's such a wide range character that you can do almost anything with.
He really is such a versatile character.
Yeah.
Whether he's grabbing Elsa's boobs and getting his head frozen, as in your artwork, or
Which is
donning a Victorian frock coat and a top hat, as we've seen a few times. Anything that Jim has done, Boston's Deadpool, Whether
I'd love
it's
to get to
Pink
meet him.
Deadpool, Batpool,
Iron
I
Deadpool.
never got to run into him at Rhode Island Comic Con. He was there. He was one of the costume judges as well, which
He
is
was doing his
probably why. But he was wearing his Pink Deadpool costume
yes,
for
his breast cancer
for
awareness.
breast cancer awareness. Yeah.
Well, I got a picture right at the beginning of Lady Deadpool, and it was fantastic. But it's such a, like you said, such a versatile character, and I'm not gonna sit there and try to tell anybody that I am in as good a shape as Ryan Reynolds.
Well, you know what's
Well, Ryan Reynolds, like Manu Bennett, nobody's in that shape.
Ryan Reynolds is
That's
the only.
an unachievable shape.
I'm gonna say this right now. Ryan Reynolds is the only other man on earth I would ever let my wife sleep with. That was part of the marriage agreement. I got Eliza Dushku. She got Ryan Reynolds. And I'll leave it at that.
You sonically screwed Maria Kanellis.
Sonically.
Yeah, sonically. But Eliza was there.
I know. I never got close enough to her. Now I sound like I never got close enough to her. Yeah, now I'm this creepy guy.
That doesn't sound creepy.
Her handlers were watching for you.
But
They were warned.
Speaking of celebrities, though, at Rhode Island Comic Con, this is one of my favorite moments at Rhode Island Comic Con. I'm standing at my booth, and I had a lot of people walk by, and I was like, "Hey, how's it going? Hey, how's it going? You know, whatever." All of a sudden, this guy walks over. I was like, "Hey, how's it going?" He turns like, "Hey, man, how's it going?" It was Rob Van Dam.
Yes.
Yes, Rob Van Dam, I got to meet him at Rhode Island Comic Con as well, and he is just as awesome as you expect. With the sunglasses on.
He had the sunglasses on both days, all day.
All day long. And we won't speculate as to why.
No, but
I'm pretty sure there's some healthy speculation going on.
I think anybody who knows Rob Van Dam knows why.
Yes. Kara and I had some conversations as to why.
Yes. But I didn't get to meet them. I saw the APA. Farouk and Bradshaw, they're awesome. And it was actually before the show started. My wife and I walked down, and all of a sudden Scotty Hottie walks over. They're like, "Hey, Scotty!" And I'm just like, "Oh my God, that's the APA, Scotty Hottie." Then later I come through and I see Mick Foley there signing autographs.
Mick Foley, who I just want to pause to say, after the fiasco that was day one of Rhode Island Comic Con, Mick Foley was only supposed to be there the one day.
Yes.
Mick Foley, after the fiasco of day one, said, "You know what? I don't really have that much going on that I can't reschedule.
Yes.
I'll be back for day two." Mick Foley cares so much about his fans and the people that didn't get the opportunity to meet him on day one that he actually came back for the second day. Yeah. I don't know if that led to the restructuring or if it was something else.
I don't even know if he was there the whole day.
I'm not sure
he was. He came back.
I wanted to thank him so much for coming back. And I never got to see him. I didn't get to get over to the APA to see them and get.
But I will say,
get Ron Simmons to say "damn" and get them to sign my classic, old school WWF. Actually, has the WWF logo on it. APA hat.
Yeah.
From back in the golden days. I didn't get them to sign it. I did, however, get to meet Rob Van Dam. That was a high priority.
Actually, I won't say walked into him, but I got really close to him like a couple times. Like he would just be walking around, like, "Holy crap, that was Rob Van Dam."
Did he punch you in the chest?
No. I also will say this.
No, it was Rob Van Dam, not Kane Hodder.
Maria Kanellis was there, who looked amazing like usual. I feel like
Did she punch you in the chest?
No. I don't think I'll ever get sick of seeing Maria Kanellis.
I don't think he would have minded that at all.
No. I'll never get sick of seeing Maria Kanellis, but I feel like she's been at many shows I've been to. So to see her now, it's like I've seen you a bunch of times. I mean, like I said, I enjoy looking at her. But another person was there, Tori Wilson, who still looks amazing.
That's something I don't think is ever going to change. She'll be 97 years old and she'll still look amazing.
I think she's getting creeping close to 40 now, and oh my! I mean, I just saw her, my jaw dropped.
Aren't we all?
Okay. Yeah.
I was kind of looking at Dan on this one, going, "Aren't we all?" I mean, my birthday's in a couple of weeks, and I know you're not too far ahead of me.
I was gonna say you're what, hitting?
I'm going into the mid-30s.
Okay,
you're going into the mid-30s.
I'm going to the mid-30s, and you're just starting.
We're on our way, and he's starting. Maestro here is starting his 30s. So I mean, her going into her 40s, that's not a bad thing.
There's a lot of women.
Some people
in their 40s.
age very, very well. I mean, Jennifer Tilly, who the voice of, why am I drawing a blank all of a sudden? Bonnie on Family Guy.
Okay.
She was in Bride of Chucky.
Yes, I do know
She's done a whole
Jennifer
bunch
Tilly.
of stuff. Has that very airy voice. She's over 50, and she looks amazing.
Hey, you want to? A little thing I thought of the other day, and I want to know if you have any examples. A little off topic, but women who look really good. And you know what made me think of this is you were talking about Sarah Jessica Parker and Hocus Pocus.
That's the only time Sarah Jessica Parker has looked very good.
I have another one for you. Angelica Houston in Addams Family.
Oh yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
That is the
But
only time I've ever looked at Angelica Houston like, oh my God, she is gorgeous.
I don't know. Angelica Houston, however, is a very, very good-looking woman.
She is.
Regardless
Yeah, well,
of what she's doing, but she has never looked better
No.
than as Morticia Addams in the Addams
Yes.
Family. I think she was genetically bred for that role.
Yes.
But if you look at her in Addams Family and then go to like The Witches, the Jim Henson movie,
Classic movie.
Yes.
okay, classic movie, but
Scared the crap out of me when I was a kid. But anyway.
but
I
she
was always afraid I was going to wake up in a painting.
she looked in Addams Family. She looked gorgeous. In Witches, she still looked good, but she
Then
looked
she had the whole creepy witch thing going
yeah,
on.
and that
Yeah,
did,
there was
that
a
ruined
whole
it
lot
for me.
going on there. Sometimes that's all in the makeup and costuming
Oh
department.
yeah,
But I was actually...
I don't want to jump off topic too much here. I don't know that we have a topic or what it is at the moment. I wanted to quickly jump back to the Deadpool thing.
Oh,
We
go
were
ahead.
talking about doing like having somebody with a service animal doing like a dog pool and having people like just the overabundance, the incredible popularity of the Deadpool character. Mega convention back in March. It was the farthest I've ever traveled for a convention.
Yeah.
Down in Orlando, Florida. It was a lot of fun. But I actually got a picture of the family Deadpool. It was Deadpool with Lady Deadpool. They actually had a head pool
Really?
with them as well. And occasionally when I go to conventions, I bring my little adipose friend Alonzo. What other name would you have for an adipose but Alonzo?
Who's
And-
dirtier than he looks.
He has seen many dirty things. Yes, he has. I never expected such things from Ariel, but I guess the Little Mermaid has grown up a bit. But Alonzo got a picture with the family Deadpool.
Well, I feel like I was just looking at my list, and we actually have a few more things I want to talk about. Is there anything else about Rhode Island Comic Con we would like to add or like to finish up with?
I don't
It
really
was
have
still
anything
fun.
more. I mean, I could go on a rant for probably hours on the negative side of things. I mean, on the positive side of things, like I said, the guests were amazing.
Yeah.
They really had an amazing guest list. Even if you didn't know where some of them were,
Yeah.
which was that alone was a huge disappointment. Because I am a huge Supernatural fan. That was the whole reason I wanted to do the Dean Winchester
Yes.
cosplay and meet the Supernatural people. I got to meet most of them. I mean, the only person I really didn't get to meet was Jim Beaver, who fans of the show know as Bobby Singer,
Yes.
who originally was supposed to be a one-off character, but was so popular they kept him around for several seasons. But the guests were amazing.
Yeah.
I'm Netflixing this tonight.
I recommend it. I'm gonna pressure everybody to watch it. It's kind of like with Doctor Who. I mean, you must watch Doctor Who because there is not a single line from that show that you can't apply to any real life situation.
My favorite is Peter Capaldi's speech about fear and how it's a superpower. I actually heard that. I was like, I actually might say that to my kids someday.
And
But
that was a great speech. That's one of the things about his run as the Doctor is there were some really great lines, there were some really great speeches, but so far there hasn't been that breakout
That
great
moment,
episode,
that-
that whole episode that really pulls it
Screw
off
you!
together.
I am the Doctor.
But so far, all right. Now I have watched a lot of the original Doctors. I have watched all of Christopher Eccleston. I've watched all of David Tennant, Matt Smith, and so far most of Peter Capaldi. I will say my favorite line to this day has and will always be, "Hello, I'm the Doctor. Basically, run."
I will say though,
That was Matt Smith's defining moment as the Doctor.
It was.
my favorite Peter Capaldi line so much is when he meets Robin Hood and he's like, "Do people usually punch you in the face when you do that?" Not as of
I
late.
laugh in the face of danger. Do people often punch you in the face when you do that? Not as such, no. Then it's a good thing I'm here.
That's my favorite Peter Capaldi line so far. But I will
What's funny is that is one of the least liked episodes from some people that I've
that was
talked to.
funny.
Some members of the Boston Whovians, for example,
I
have
wasn't-
not been big fans of that episode.
I wasn't a huge fan of the episode, but I love that quote. But
If you're the Doctor, how come you sound like? If you're an alien, how come you sound like you're from the North?
Lots of planets have a north. I'm still working on my northern accent. I don't really have a good northern London accent. However, I have carried on a conversation with Simon Fisher Becker, who played Dorian Maldivar during Matt Smith's run as the Doctor, the big blue guy.
Oh, yes.
Who ran Maldivar's.
He was at
Bazaar.
Rhode Island Comic Con last year, correct?
He was at Rhode Island Comic Con last year, yes. I had a wonderful conversation with him last year. the whole time in my British accent,
Ah.
and I don't know that he was any the wiser. I felt a little bad about that after the fact, but the fact that I could carry on a conversation and not get picked up as not being British, I thought was really fantastic.
Well,
I got to meet Colin Baker this year, but I didn't
Yes.
try to affect the British accent.
Well, you know what's funny is because I was at work early today, and I only have 3 days left of this job before I start a new job. So I spent my time. I was actually on my YouTube on my phone, and I was watching on YouTube the scene where Matt Smith jumps through the portal and meets David Tennant, the 10th Doctor, and that whole conversation, and then you see.
One of those is Zygon. Big Red Rabbit things covered in seconds.
Yeah, I'm not judging.
I'm not judging.
But then they both put on the glasses. Oh, yeah. I want to get that on DVD. I love the 50th anniversary. But
Yes, 50th anniversary on DVD is fantastic. It
is.
also contains the Night of the Doctor, which was Paul McGann returning to
Yes.
the role of the 8th Doctor, so we could finally see that long-awaited regeneration.
Thank you, Paul McGann.
And
Yes,
also contained another episode whose title escapes me, but it's the Gallifreyan army defending one of their great cities from the Daleks.
Yes.
And another really great short episode that came out before the 50th anniversary. So it's a really, really great combination to get on DVD or Blu-ray.
I will say, just real quick on the whole Paul McGann as Doctor Who thing. If you want to know more about Paul McGann's run as the Doctor, considering he kind of got shafted there, you can get the 8th Doctor Adventures on audiobook, and they are fantastic.
The Big Finish Audio Adventures, I believe, is what they're called. And he has had one of the most amazing runs as the Doctor, with a number of great companions.
Oh yeah.
It is very difficult when you date a cyborg. It's very difficult to get rid of them, or an android.
But finishing up the Rhode Island Comic Con thing, I will say,
Or Siri.
all in all, I had a good time.
Yeah,
I enjoyed the show. It was my highest grossing, money-wise, grossing show to date.
Which is really good because, as you said, there is that final goal in place of getting On the Hunt into a physical location, so that it's not online and conventions only. I honestly, like I said, all the negative that I have to say could take up 4 or 5 podcasts on its own, but it's not really worth it, because I feel like it's all been said.
And I feel like you have a
number of different attendees.
You have a lot of people who will be like, I'm never going back, but a lot of them will be there next year.
I can't for certain say that I would be one of those people. I had such a negative time in certain aspects. Like I said, I had a lot of fun. I left, though. I was one of the people that came down with what's commonly known as con crud.
Yeah.
I know I wasn't the only person affected by it. Myself and Kara both affected. Destiny Nicholson came down with it. Emily from Misa Cosplay, and probably countless others.
Yeah, many others. Or some people would call it Ebola.
When you overfill a venue of any kind with people, when you overstuff that with going well beyond capacity and pissing off the fire department, the police department, the fire marshal, and probably half of New England, you're bound to have something like that happen. But
I feel like
that was kind of.
I feel like it is possible, but I feel like, at least from Altered Reality Entertainment, there's no way this can happen 2 years in a row like that.
No. I wouldn't expect it. And I mean, they have a few different events that they do, and with Rhode Island Comic Con, it was their third year? I think. Like I said, it's something I really hope they kind of learn from.
Yes.
It's something that I think a lot of other events have probably had similar situations in their early years and have learned from. I mean, Boston Comic Con's gone on for a few years. Granite State Comic Con, I know, has gone on for a number of years.
Yes.
I believe they're over a decade strong now. I'm sure San Diego and New York Comic Con had their issues in the beginning. Wizard World with their Comic Cons that they put on probably had issues in the beginning.
Yes.
So, I mean, hopefully they take what happened and learn from it.
I just feel like nobody can say today, I will not go next year.
No.
You know what I mean?
You gotta just wait and see what happens next year.
That's the thing, is I'm playing that wait and see card, and it's a similar situation to last year with MegaFest, especially since we're coming up on MegaFest.
Yep.
Just something to quickly touch on with that. MegaFest last year, I had fun meeting the people that I met. I had a really great conversation with John Heater from Napoleon Dynamite about Doctor Who. I think I converted a Whovian at MegaFest last year. Getting to meet Eliza Dushku, getting to meet Bronson Pinchot from Perfect Strangers, which has always been a big thing. Seeing some of the really great people that were there, having Ernie Hudson compliment me on my David Tennant suit.
Yes.
Later having Eliza Dushku compliment me on the brown suit. Now having George Takei compliment my Matt Smith bow tie.
Yes.
These are all celebrity endorsed products now, which kind of makes me a celebrity endorsed product, and I kind of like to take a little stock in that because it's about all I have.
But I think, Nick, as far as Rhode Island Comic Con, I think if there's a brain among them, they will learn from their mistakes.
I'm sure there is.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They'll learn from their mistakes, and hopefully they'll draw the same type of amazing guests that they had this year, and the same type of amazing guests they had at TerraCon. I mean, even TerraCon, it wasn't a huge event because it was their first year, but they drew some really big names. They had
did.
Linda Blair, they had Michael Jai White, they had Kane Hodder, who I don't believe came over to punch you in the chest
No, he
again,
did
which
not.
is probably good.
They also had Kane.
There would probably only be two of us. They had Kane,
The WWE, the
who
big
was
red monster.
who was charging, from what I heard, way too much for autographs, and was in a private room, so you couldn't even go and like snap a picture or just walk up to him and say, "Hey, I'm really glad that you came out for this."
Yes.
And that's one of the other things that's really great about a lot of the guests at these different things. You get to walk up to these people. You don't necessarily have to buy a picture from them. You don't necessarily have to have them autograph something. You can walk up to a lot of these people and just say, "Hey, thanks for coming out." And a lot of them really appreciate it.
Yeah, I remember we were at TerraCon. Oh gosh, I can't remember his name now.
Description.
He played in a bunch of Rob Zombie movies. William Forsythe. Yes.
Who was also last minute addition to Rhode Island Comic Con.
Yeah, but he was
really
at TerraCon on his birthday. So when we walked by, my wife actually said to him, "Happy birthday." And he said, "Oh,
and
thank
I'm
you."
sure he appreciated it.
Yeah.
I mean, that was a big thing. Is that weekend just happened to fall on William Forsythe's birthday,
Yeah.
so it was really cool. And I was even on my own trying to encourage people to go over and wish him a happy birthday, because it's like, hey, if you want to go over and get his autograph, go over and get his autograph. You want to try and get a picture with him, try and get a picture with him. If nothing else, go wish the guy a happy birthday, because he's here on his birthday. He doesn't have to be doing this, and he's still here.
I went to snap a picture of Eliza Dushku at MegaFest, and she never said anything about it, but her guard was like, "Hey, you can't do that." I'm sure she doesn't care.
No, she probably doesn't. And that's another great thing about the guests, is a lot of the guests, I mean, these are people who are just taking time out of their weekend, their day, whatever, to come and meet people who really appreciate something that they've contributed to whatever these people like. Eliza Dushku being a part of so many things.
Dollhouse,
Buffy
Buffy,
the Vampire Slayer, Angel, all these other things.
She's been part of the Kevin Smith universe.
Yeah, she's been a part of so much that...
She's been a part of many dreams of mine.
She's been a part of many dreams of many. But just having her come out and do this, having at Rhode Island Comic Con, having the original Star Trek cast.
Yes, it's amazing.
William Shatner, George Takei, Nichelle Nichols, Walter Koenig.
William Shatner and George Takei in the same room.
Yeah.
In the same room, but noticeably separated from each other. The rest of the cast was at one end. They were on this raised stage area because they were kind of the biggest draws.
Yes.
And Mark Shepard and Jim Beaver were apparently there as well, but like I said, they did not have signs to direct people to. Not even just a little, "Hey, Mark Shepard's over here" sign that somebody could have printed up on Microsoft Word and thrown on a curtain, anything like that. Couple of guys from Sons of Anarchy, but the Sons of Anarchy guys were together. One of them was, I want to say, Tommy Flanagan. For some reason, that name's in my head, but that could be completely random.
So I know there's the one that's coming to MegaFest too.
One of them,
Ryan.
I think Hurst. Please don't quote me on that or kill me for it. I haven't started watching Sons of Anarchy. It's still in my Netflix queue, along with Breaking Bad. And I'm glad Kara's not in the room to hit me, because I would probably be dead with Thor's hammer buried in my skull. But when it came to the Star Trek cast, you had Walter Koenig, Nichelle Nichols, George Takei, and then at the other end of the stage, with probably 4 or 5 people in between, you had William Shatner, because reasons.
Yes, reasons.
I've met William Shatner, and he is a really nice guy. Whatever issues have been had in the past are in the past, and
I don't judge
whatever
anybody.
wounds are still open are still open, but meeting him, he was a really nice guy.
Yeah, I think we need to just basically wait and see what happens next year, but
we also need to move on.
They screw this up again.
Yeah, we do have probably a couple other topics to get to.
We have, I don't know, just over 15 minutes before this becomes our longest.
Is that Groot?
Thank you, Lord Vader. But here's something I do
That's
want
what
to talk
people are
about.
going to be saying next year if they screw up again.
Yeah, at least he wasn't crying. No, and on the subject of Lord Vader, unfortunately, David Prowse was not at Rhode Island Comic Con. That was a bit.
Yeah.
Guy's getting up there. I mean,
But I do want to talk about the Suicide Squad movie.
I do too. I just want
to talk
we got
about
off
Harley
topic on what I was going off on. I just quickly want to finish up my MegaFest thought and my Rhode Island Comic Con thought.
Yes.
Like I said, Rhode Island Comic Con right now is a wait and see. MegaFest had become that last year. MegaFest, because of the issues that they have, I had a wait and see approach to this year, and they announced the first guest that I remember them announcing was Jonathan Frakes, and they followed that immediately up with Marina Sirtis from Star Trek: The Next Generation. That immediately is the reason why I intend to be at MegaFest. So I mean, it really does come down to that for Rhode Island Comic Con. If they bring those
that
A+ level guests, if they announce that Matt Smith is going to be there, or Alex Kingston,
or David Tennant.
David Tennant would be the entire Star Trek Original Series cast being announced, and my head would explode on the announcement.
If David Tennant and or Matt Smith is there, we may as well just barricade ourselves behind our booths because they're going to go over capacity in the first 20 seconds.
David Tennant was on the Late Show with Craig Ferguson recently.
Who is also a huge confessed Whovian and knows the galactic coordinates of Gallifrey, which is very important to us.
But if you get a chance to watch it. But I do want to talk about the Suicide Squad movie. We have finally, for the first time in live-action history, casted a Harley Quinn.
And she is hot.
She is incredibly hot, although the only thing I recognize her from, her name is Margot Robbie.
Yes.
And the only thing I recognized her from on her IMDb page was The Wolf of Wall Street.
Yeah,
which
I've never seen.
I don't want to put any stock in that.
And
she is very attractive.
She's very attractive. She's blonde.
Ready to pull off the character.
Obviously.
But I feel like I listened to an interview with her. She sounds nothing like Harley Quinn, but I feel like nobody sounds like Harley Quinn unless you're from Brooklyn, New York, maybe.
Nobody sounds like Harley Quinn off the bat. I mean, think about Heath Ledger being cast as the Joker in The Dark Knight. Nobody really put any stock in Heath Ledger. He's Australian.
But you know, that kind of brings me to
we're being threatened with a Freddy glove.
But you know something?
Now Freddy's flipping us off. But
Heath Ledger as the Joker does bring me to an interesting point. Is the rumored person they want for the Joker is Jared Leto.
Yes, the frontman of 30 Seconds to Mars and star of Requiem for a Dream.
Which is a very weird movie.
Yes,
if you've ever seen it, you have to. It's one of those movies you have to watch once in your life. But if you don't watch it again, that's okay.
You will probably only watch it once in your life.
Can I just say though, you guys said nobody sounds like Harley Quinn. The only person who sounds like Harley Quinn is the girl who did her in the Batman animated series. She set the Harley Quinn standard.
Yes.
Voice.
Well, so did Mark
Hamill. There was
a
girl who did Harley Quinn. Can we focus? Oh no, I'm sorry. It's not that kind of show. Hang on.
It was Poison Ivy, actually. Anyway.
Anyway.
But Jared Leto as the Joker.
I'm gonna go to sleep. I have a dream. I have to sleep right now.
But Jared Leto as the Joker. I'm not sure how I feel about that. But in defense of Jared Leto, I didn't like Heath Ledger as the Joker when I first heard it.
Oh no, I railed against that announcement when they did it, and now Heath Ledger is kind of the standard that everybody throws back when people go, Ben Affleck can't be Batman. You said Heath Ledger couldn't be the Joker.
Yeah.
Heath Ledger had never been tested in that type of environment.
No.
We've seen Ben Affleck be a superhero, and let's never talk about the Daredevil movie ever again.
But another thing I like though, because whether or not you like Jared Leto as the Joker, here's something that I'm actually excited about. They're casting a new Joker. Whoever the director or the writers or the studio doing the Suicide Squad movie said, we want a Joker and we're going to cast a new Joker. Because you have those fans out there who said, oh, there should never be another on-screen Joker because of Heath Ledger's death. No.
But you can't really do that. You can't take away the Dark Knight's greatest villain because Heath Ledger did an amazing job. Jack Nicholson did a great job back in 1989.
He did.
And people said, oh, Heath Ledger can't fill the shoes that were set by Jack Nicholson in 1989 or Mark Hamill.
Cesar Romero.
Well, Cesar Romero was his own type of Joker. He was the more campy 1960s Batman series.
Bow, bang, boop. Yeah.
Biff, bum, pow, Joker, and they've all had their individual styles. I mean, to me, Mark Hamill is the Joker because he has voiced the Joker. Arlene Sorkin is Harley Quinn because she voiced Harley Quinn up to and including the episode of Arrow that featured several members of the Suicide Squad, including Deadshot. she voiced Harley Quinn, but she did not make an on-screen appearance
She did not.
as everybody's favorite demented sidekick.
But she also, and I may be wrong about this, but I'm almost positive, she played Harley Quinn in Arkham Asylum, but did not play her in Arkham City.
She may have. I'm actually going to look that up.
I
because
know
I
they
wanna know
recasted
that.
her for Arkham City.
She has been Harley Quinn in most media. Arlene Sorkin is
But
known as the voice of Harley Quinn.
I am 100% positive she did not play her in Arkham City. I do not know if she played her in Arkham Asylum. I think she did.
Tara Strong was actually the voice of Harley Quinn
In Arkham City, yes.
So,
has done a number of voices as well. Does
and
fantastic.
She
voice work.
she does a very good
I
job as well.
believe is one of the Animaniacs. She I believe was the voice of Dot in Animaniacs.
Yes.
that wouldn't surprise me. But here's a question, and riddle me this.
Riddle me this. Are we going to talk about Gotham?
We can if we have time. I have a few more things I want to talk about.
I'm just wondering where they kind of dropped the whole Suicide Squad thing in Arrow. You gotta kind of wonder if they're gonna do something like a hats off to Arrow in the Suicide Squad movie.
Well, it's a different cast. Like I know the guy they want to play Deadshot is.
They've talked to I think Jai Courtney from A Good Day to Die Hard.
Yes,
Divergent.
Who's also playing Kyle Reese in the new Terminator.
Yes, playing Kyle Reese in the new Terminator Genesis with Matt Smith and I forget who else is on that. Once
Mother of Dragons.
Once you start talking about Matt Smith, I lose all concern of care.
Oh God, why can't I remember her name? The Mother of Dragons from Game of Thrones.
Emilia
Clarke, who looks a lot better as a brunette.
I don't know. I think she looks fantastic with that.
I love the white hair. Don't get me wrong.
Golden white
I didn't
hair.
make
But
it
I
to the hair.
saw her as a brunette in the poster.
Dan didn't look that high.
I saw her in the poster for the.
No, she is naturally brunette. She wears a wig for Game of Thrones as Daenerys.
But I saw her as a brunette, and I just thought she looked amazing.
She's an incredibly beautiful woman on the whole.
I got through the four seasons of Game of Thrones and so far, and I got to tell you, when the dragons were born, I didn't realize the dragons had been born until 2 episodes later.
It's like, where'd those dragons come from? I still see 2 eggs. No. We're not.
Wait a minute.
We're not a bunch of sexist perverts, I promised.
No, not all the time.
No. We all have significant others who put up with us, and
why we don't know.
Surprisingly, we've asked many times.
But
so what's next?
Well, the other thing I do want to discuss, though, I do want to bring up, who's seen the Age of Ultron trailer?
Oh, the leaked Age of Ultron trailer or the official Age of Ultron trailer?
I love how if it got leaked, it would have been.
Damn you, Hydra! That came a little fast.
I have some theories based on the Age of Ultron trailer, which I think it looks amazing.
Oh yeah,
I've got no strings.
Yeah, and he's totally creeping us out with our old favorite childhood movies. But there's a few things in the trailer though that I saw that maybe, and I think I may have voiced these in the past. The scene Hulkbuster versus Hulk. I think it's going to be an amazing scene.
Oh, yeah.
I just think it's not going to have anything major to
It's
do with
not
the
going
plot.
to have an impact. It's not going to have the impact on the plot that
I feel like that's a fight that'll happen.
the trailer seems to suggest.
Yeah, I feel like that fight will happen before Ultron is even in the movie.
You know something really creepy?
What's that?
Because our younger sister made
What?
Ultron.
Yes.
And our younger sister said, James Spader.
Yes.
And I kept thinking to myself, who is that? And for those of you who don't know, anybody who's seen the original Stargate movie, he was Dr. Daniel Jackson.
Yes,
I do
he was
remember
Daniel
that.
Jackson
And
on
I'm like-
Stargate, and he's currently on NBC's The Blacklist.
Yes, that's what I was.
Unless NBC has decided to cancel another great show.
But when I saw that, and I looked it up on IMDb, and it was like, that little
he looked
geek
nothing like that
is
anymore.
Ultron.
Yeah.
Heroes.
But like I said, I don't think that scene's gonna have anything to do with the plot.
No.
There was something else. There was a scene where you see Ultron standing with the twins, the Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver,
Scarlet Witch,
and you see almost like they're inside this building, kind of, and there's a lot of wreckage. I'd be willing to bet you, Ultron is going to destroy Hydra.
Well, somebody's got to.
I feel like when
Yeah.
Ultron's going to show up, he's going to break out the twins, and that's what gets them to join him. And
I
don't want to see Ultron
think
break
Dan and
out
I
the
are having the
twins.
same thought here. Ultron is going to break out the twins. Is the Marvel Cinematic Universe ready for that?
if they're ready for a Deadpool movie, but I feel like
We are long overdue for a Deadpool movie, but that's an entirely different
Another
issue for
trailer
an
that
entirely
leaked.
different day.
all sex jokes aside. But I feel like he's going to
Well, that
free
wasn't a leaked trailer. That was test footage.
I feel like he's going to go rescue the twins from their captor. And I feel like he's going to wipe out what is left of Hydra, and that's going to end the Hydra storyline. Because honestly, it's a storyline. Can we really keep going with it?
They need
depending on
more than 2 seasons.
considering where they intend to go with the cinematic universe.
I feel like
and
Hydra's
Guardians
gotta
of the
go.
Galaxy 2 and Marvel Civil War somewhere on the horizon. Yeah, I really don't think that they can continue the Hydra thing for much longer. I think it needs to be wrapped up, and hopefully quickly.
I am not at all looking forward to the Marvel Civil War.
No.
In a way, I am, because being a fan of those comics. I mean, Marvel Civil War is really what brought me back into comic books.
It's a great idea. I don't want to see Captain
that
America.
Star Wars Legacy.
I don't want to see Captain America and Iron Man against each other.
No.
I don't want to see the Avengers turning on each other and fighting. I don't want to see that.
That's such a huge part of it in the pro-initiative and
I'm sure it is.
Anti-initiative factions, and the fact that Captain America, this pinnacle of patriotism, this red, white, and blue superhero who has always been about putting his country first. He would sacrifice his body and his life for his country, ending up on the wrong side of that country by saying, no, we shouldn't be regulated. We shouldn't be treated like a police force or a military force the way the other forces are, the way the other branches are. We need to have that autonomy, that secret identity, because it protects the people we care about.
Yes.
And to have Tony Stark on the other side saying, no, we need to be pro-registration. We need to regulate ourselves.
Yeah.
To have these two almost polar opposite sides of these two very, very close friends, for anybody who's a fan of the comics, is just
I will say
that
this.
alone is what set up the whole Civil War.
I will say this. I'm glad that it's taking place during Captain America 3, and because I feel like the problem I have with the Civil War thing is, okay, we're gonna get to Thanos eventually, and we can. And I say we. The Avengers cannot be fighting amongst themselves when Thanos comes to town.
No.
With the Infinity Gauntlet, which he's going to have.
Yeah, by the time we get to Thanos, he will have possession of the Infinity Stones and the gauntlet necessary to control
That's
them.
like the X-Men fighting among themselves when Apocalypse shows up. It's not a good idea.
Well, it's like
Bob.
Well, it's like that's another comic, and there's probably comic fans who hate me for saying this. Avengers versus X-Men. I had no desire to read that.
No.
I don't want to see the X-Men fighting the Avengers.
But maybe I'm the maybe I'm not as deep as some people. But you know what I want to know about the new Avengers? Are they going to give the cast of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. a little drop in? At least Coulson. That will be. I am curious to see that.
There has to be some kind of reference to that, especially with.
They have to find out Coulson's still alive.
I was gonna say, anybody who hasn't seen Avengers at this point, I don't know why you're listening to this podcast.
Yeah, I'm not even gonna bother with a spoiler alert.
Yeah, there's no need for a spoiler alert at this point, with it being such a huge cultural phenomenon and film phenomenon. There has to be some drop in for the Avengers knowing that Coulson is alive, because Coulson's death is the one event that galvanized them into the weapon against Loki and the Chitauri in the first Avengers movie. So, I mean, to not reference that is kind of to give a big middle finger to their television universe.
Well,
Coulson rocks.
That raises another question.
Coulson does rock.
That raises another question. Speaking of deaths in this universe, do you think Thor, now they just announced the titles, Thor 3 will be called Thor Ragnarok. Now, does this title spoil Age of Ultron?
Nothing's going to spoil it.
I don't think that it does. I think that even calling it Ragnarok, for anybody that knows the character of Ragnarok or the Ragnarok storyline from Thor comics, it doesn't necessarily spoil the Age of Ultron film or the Age of Ultron story, simply because the events that lead to Ragnarok don't necessarily have to be a part of Age of Ultron.
No.
They may be, but they could just as easily take place in the first few minutes of Thor 3.
Well, the thing that I keep telling myself is, and I'll say spoiler alert for this, Ragnarok, at least a version of Ragnarok, is a clone/cyborg of Thor created by Tony Stark after Thor's death. Now, it's not that case in every version, and there's even a version where Thor comes back and destroys Ragnarok.
Thou art not the god of thunder.
Yes, but what I'm saying is, does it spoil it? But on the same token, will you have Thor 3 without Thor. I feel like it's okay. Does the fact that it's called Ragnarok mean that Thor's going to die in Age of Ultron? But on the other side of the coin, you have Thor 3 without Thor. I feel like
wouldn't it just be called?
But if you had Thor 3 with everybody thinking that Ragnarok is Thor.
Exactly. That's another.
I mean, that's one direction. There are so many directions they could go in with this. It's kind of a chaos star of directions where they could go off in so many different ways and kind of tell a story, but
I'm excited.
Have that title be relevant to it.
I'm excited for Age of Ultron. I'm excited for, even though I'm not a huge fan of the Civil War storyline, I am excited for Captain America 3. I'm excited for Thor. I'm excited for Guardians 2.
Excited for Deadpool.
I'm not excited for Black Panther, but that's only because I don't know a lot about Black Panther. But I wasn't excited for Thor until I saw it. And then when I saw it, I was like, wow, I love Thor now. Black Panther, he's part of the Avengers. Yes.
There was a really great Black Panther cosplay at Rhode Island Comic Con that was traveling with a Mr. Sinister, and
I did see that.
Yes,
I saw an Apocalypse there, which was amazing.
There was an amazing Apocalypse.
Yes,
and absolutely amazing.
I saw a picture of him and Mr. Sinister together.
Well, speaking of Apocalypse, while we're talking about Marvel movies, I just read an article earlier today that X-Men Apocalypse is going to be about Mystique. It's like, wasn't Days of Futures Past about Mystique?
I still haven't seen
that. But
they
felt that so many people gravitated towards the Mystique storyline. But when it comes to the Marvel Cinematic Universe, there's really only one movie that I care about. I can't stop this feeling deep inside of me. Because I want to see more Groot.
I want to see, Guardians 2.
On the subject of Groot, honestly, this wasn't something that I was intending to bring up. But there was an amazing Rocket cosplay that was done at a convention recently, and it was actually somebody inside a costume, and it absolutely looks fantastic. Off the top of my head, I don't know who they were. It was somebody that I think Yaya Han had shared on Facebook.
But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of great movies coming out in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Like I said, Guardians 2, Thor Ragnarok, Civil War, Age of Ultron, plus Infinity War Part 1 and 2.
Well, let's not forget, DC has their own stuff coming out that they intend to do as well, although it apparently is going to be part of a multiverse type scenario where they don't necessarily have to acknowledge shows like Arrow, The Flash,
which are awesome.
Yeah, well, they are awesome. What isn't awesome is how they're two separate universes. But I heard that they're going to be releasing the Batman vs Superman teaser trailer with The Hobbit this year, which doesn't make any sense considering the movie doesn't come out till 2016.
And the DC has absolutely nothing to do with hobbits or dragons or fire and death.
I am excited for the next Hobbit movie, though.
Something made of gold, but far more precious.
Sorry. But that comes out December 17th, I believe. I could be wrong about that. But but I honestly, let's see. Well, we've been doing this for over an hour and a half. I feel like it might be time to wrap it up. So my last minute little plugs.
We do not need to talk about Kim Kardashian's photoshopped ass.
No.
But we probably should have talked about the fact that we landed on a friggin' comet and nobody cared because of Kim Kardashian's ass.
My favorite picture was a picture of Kanye West, and it says, "Here's a picture of Kim Kardashian's ass."
That is the most accurate picture I've ever seen of Kim Kardashian's ass.
Yes.
Very little Photoshop was involved.
Yes.
Was the picture of Peter Griffin with Kim Kardashian's butt.
But
I don't think I saw that one.
Anyway, November 22nd and 23rd, On the Hunt will be in Framingham, Massachusetts for New England Super Mega Fest and Comic Con 2014. I'm almost positive Shiny Dr. Cosplay is going to be there.
Shiny Dr. Cosplay will be there at least one of the 2 days,
yes.
Possibly not both of the days, but most likely on the Saturday I will be there, along with my constant companion, Kara, who I don't know if she'll be in any sort of costume. That may or may not happen.
Great guests. I mean, the original NWO, Hulk Hogan, Kevin Nash, and Scott Hall will be there, along with Jimmy Hart.
Yep.
There's actually a special event going on with Hulk Hogan and Jimmy Hart later in the night. I just don't have the necessary money to afford that, and I'm sure a lot of people are in that boat because that's kind of an expensive
I'm sure it is.
night out on the town of Framingham.
But also, Jonathan Frakes
Commander Riker.
Commander Riker, Counselor Troy, Marina Sirtis will be there. Lieutenant Tasha Yar, Denise Crosby will be there.
And
Walking Dead fans can check in with her as well, as she was cooking up that delicious-smelling meat at Terminus.
And also, just an added too is the man who played Lieutenant Barclay on Next Generation.
And Howling Mad Murdoch on the A-Team. Dwight Schultz will be there.
He will
Recent
be there.
announcement. Also from Sons of Anarchy, Ryan. Like I said, I don't watch the show. I want to say it's Ryan Hurst.
If we're wrong, we apologize.
So yes, if I am wrong, I apologize to both the fans of Sons of Anarchy and to Ryan himself.
I'm sure there'll be a row of porn stars there. There usually are.
There usually are, and hopefully they don't put Ron Jeremy too close to anyone that might be kind of frightened by it.
He scared away Kelly Last year, and I will never forgive him for that. But that being said, like I said, On the Hunt Collectibles will be there. Art by Dan H. I mean, we'll have some of his art there. He won't have his own table, but he will be with the On the Hunt family and Dr. Cosplay.
Fantastic art. Hopefully, I'm kind of hoping that new Groot artwork will be there because that's pretty cute.
I drew Groot.
I drew Groot. Yes.
But,
yes, you did, Art. And I've already started sharing it on Facebook with people, trying to draw some new fans into your artwork.
Also, if you check out Art by Dan H, and I believe it's on the Hunt Collectibles on Facebook as well. We have the first 2 pages, so to speak, of the Twitch comic, which is finally seen the light of day. It's hopefully the first of many more to come.
He's a very busy artist with a lot of work on his plate.
And let me
there
tell
is
you,
a steampunk Ariel that is still not complete.
It's in the other room.
It
it's
is
sketched.
working on
Yes.
It is on its way to completion.
And let me tell you, okay, it's a small comic. It's a simple strip, just 2 pages. And let me tell you, it is not easy.
Ignore the spelling errors.
Yeah,
but,
there's only one.
Spelling errors. It's called spell check.
And it's
well,
not
the
even
problem
a
is
spelling
it wasn't
error.
an error. It was the wrong version of the word.
Yes.
I see.
Seems
Yes.
to happen a lot. But
Yes,
anyway,
there are 3 2s in the English language, and if you ever doubt that, try writing that as a sentence.
yes. And numbers, as I found out earlier today, are racist. But we won't talk about that. But once again, this is Maestro, Shiny Dr. Cosplay, and Dan Hunt, and we are out of here.